in the MMA on April the 11th. He's gone until at least then. And I'm hoping when Lesnar comes back, he gets that rematch. And the interesting thing in the fine and suspension Lesnar was dealt by Stephanie is the fact that she allowed Brock Lesnar will get his rematch. But obviously there are going to be more individuals, more parties, if you would, involved in the fallout. We're going to see Randy Orton and Roman Reigns possibly involved in what could be anything from a triple threat match to a fatal four-way by Extreme Rules involving Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and the champion Seth Rollins. Here's my opinion on Seth Rollins. I hope that Seth Rollins isn't what he allows he's going to be, a champion for a very long time, because in my opinion, all the piece of shit is a CM Punk knockoff that's just a replacement in the absence of CM Punk, leaving where CM Punk left off before CM Punk quit back in 2013 when he was eliminated from the Royal Rumble and shot on WWE for the second time the way he did in a far more worse professional way than what he did in 2011. All Seth Rollins really is, in my opinion, is a CM Punk replacement while CM Punk is gone from WWE. And when CM Punk ever returns to WWE, that's sayonara for Seth Rollins, in my opinion. If not for being a CM Punk replacement, Seth Rollins probably would never have been WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and someone like Roman Reigns would probably be at the top of the mountain long before now, because Seth Rollins, in my opinion, is just taking an opportunity that was given to him. He reached up and grabbed the proverbial brass ring, and I don't see Seth Rollins being champion 6 or 7 months because he can't produce ratings and he can't make television unpredictable like some people like Brock Lesnar and John Cena have been able to do. So in my opinion, the main events of WrestleMania this year were absolutely atrocious. And the only thing we really benefited from were matches like John Cena versus Rusev for the United States Championship, a phenomenal finish, with John Cena finding his way out of the accolade and AAing Rusev the way that he did to capture his 4th United States Championship, and The Undertaker returning in a match that a lot of people think had no points served for it. The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. The Undertaker now 22-1 at WrestleMania. That's where his record stands. 22-1. There's something about that record, that number, that just doesn't make sense to me at all. I can understand if The Undertaker was, say, 21-1 at WrestleMania, but I mean 22-1 at WrestleMania with that one loss possibly being the retirement of The Undertaker. It would make more sense if The Undertaker just lost last year and we never saw him again. But the thing is, the thing that really frustrates me about this match is, what was the point of The Undertaker coming back and defeating Bray Wyatt in the way that he did? Is The Undertaker going to go on and face Sting next year at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas? When are we going to see The Undertaker compete again? The thing is, there are so many questions from The Undertaker's win this year at WrestleMania. Is this going to be the only time we see The Undertaker this year? When will The Undertaker compete again? And who will The Undertaker compete against? Or some of the important unanswered questions in the fallout of The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt match. And with no fallout from the match being done on Raw, the earliest tentative time you would expect something to be done between The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, with no fallout being examined from this match, no video packages, no still shots, nothing. There were 1 or 2 photos of The Undertaker-Bray Wyatt match, and that's fuck all. What is going to be the fallout of Bray Wyatt's character? What is the direction of Bray Wyatt's character now? We don't have an answer to that. Will we ever see Bray Wyatt again after he disrespected The Undertaker ever since Fastlane and called The Undertaker out? Will we see Bray Wyatt possibly, change his ways, become a fan favorite, possibly be a contender for the championship in the new year of WWE? I mean, so many unanswered questions. I mean, fuck all was done with The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt in the way of a fallout. 2 or 3 still shots on the big screen on Raw. I mean, who really cares about the still shots? We want to know what's next for The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt. Is The Undertaker going to face Sting? Is Bray Wyatt going to go on to feud with someone like Randy Orton or John Cena? We want answers to these questions. Now, with the promos for Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton versus Kane, obviously something's going to be done with Orton and Wyatt. But when and how is this all going to come about? How is all this going to come into play with how disastrous the Undertaker-Bray Wyatt match was at WrestleMania? It was good psychology-wise because there was a lot of mind games being played with both the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt trying to get that decisive advantage against one another. But the issue I had with the whole match is the storyline's purpose was completely defeated with the Undertaker winning the match, which obviously we knew he was going to do. But The Undertaker's career should have been over at WrestleMania 30, in my opinion, with that loss to Brock Lesnar. The concussion, the 3 F5s fit perfectly. Why did we see The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt and where do we go from here are two of the more important questions that we had in the fallout of the Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt match. We know John Cena is going to tone it down a little bit. He's going to defend the U.S. title against names like Sheamus and Dean Ambrose over the next couple of months. Obviously, John Cena knows he doesn't need a championship to be popular. That's why people were predicting that John Cena going into the match was not going to come out of it as champion, and if anything, John Cena was just going to go on to feud with new talent and superstars in the fallout if he did lose and Rusev remained undefeated. That was not the case. John Cena is U.S. champion now for the fourth time in his career, a title which he does not need. Obviously, this is just to kill off Rusev's character eventually, and I do see a rematch between John Cena and Rusev leading up to the eventual killing of Rusev's character, as you can read in a column that I archived for In This Corner with Jonathan Clarke. Rusev's career in WWE doesn't seem to be going to last much longer, and I don't blame WWE for all the controversy between Russia and the U.S., which we've seen on CNN, putting the blame on them. They're pieces of shit as well for looking at Russia and the U.S. the way that they do with their video packages and their coverage of the issues between U.S. and Russia. I hate CNN for what they do and how WWE are just taking advantage of this opportunity and disgracing Russia and the U.S. more than what they already have been disgraced by CNN. They are just adding fuel to the proverbial fire, and it's time to get rid of a character like Rusev and Lana because they are just disgracing the U.S. in an absolutely unprofessional way and just adding fuel to the fire, which is always getting bigger because of CNN. Every day on my fucking news feed, I am reading something about U.S. and Russia. I hate that story about how CNN is always going back to the same repetitive thing, talking about the same bullshit between the United States and Russia. Give it a rest and let the countries rest and let the countries come to a mutual agreement. If they don't, we don't have to cover it and publicize it as much as what we do, and it makes me completely sick to have to talk about this sort of thing and how WWE are just trying to tie everything in with their storylines to what is legitimately happening in the United States and Russia. If you're going to kill Rusev's character, don't prolong the fucking thing and get rid of Rusev, because I am tired of seeing his face on television. I'm tired of hearing him run down America. His purpose in WWE, in my opinion, has completely been defeated, and if John Cena is going to benefit in this feud with Rusev, then John Cena should benefit now, and John Cena should move on to bigger and better things in his career. If he's got a few years left after giving us 13 years, if he's contemplating retirement, if he's got a few years left, have him have these enjoyable few years wrestling people like The Undertaker and Sting and Randy Orton. Have him wrestle against some of the people he was involved in some of his greatest rivalries with, even if they have to be for the United States title. I'd go for Sheamus versus John Cena for the U.S. title, and Sheamus putting a plea out there out of being a number one contender for the U.S. title in the way that they lost the title prior to him leaving. And with Sheamus now being a heel character, John Cena versus Sheamus, there's just something about that. Put an end to Rusev and John Cena and put an end to the Rusev character, because I'm tired of hearing about it, and I'm tired of hearing about all the pointless coverage that's being thrown our way by CNN and the news feed that posts something every 30 minutes on our fucking Facebook page. Talk about something more enjoyable, like the Iron Man story from CNN a couple of weeks ago when a kid was given an arm in replacement of an arm and a disability that he had. His arm was partly mutated or something, and then Iron Man showed up, gave him a embolic arm or something. Those are stories that I want to hear about more so than what's happening with the U.S. and Russia. The story with Iron Man and the kid was one of the best stories CNN had covered, and I wish CNN would cover things more appropriately than what they do. Tired of hearing about the same fucking thing over and over and over, U.S. and Russia, and have WWE are tying in storylines with what's legitimately happening, just proving a point that I've been raising for years about how WWE and the United States, just can't get along, in my opinion, or something. I don't know what it is with WWE and these storylines, these legitimate angles, and these real-life scenarios. I just hate how WWE go about things. They just thrive off, taking real-life scenarios and turning them into storylines because they don't know how to create something. They're not creative anymore. It was said for years that WWE were, not as creative as they were back in the 80s and early 90s, and I believe it more so now because they're just taking real-life scenarios and turning them into storylines. And John Cena and Rusev, with how much they're playing off U.S. and Russia and the Russian flag dropping at the end of every Rusev match, in my opinion, it's just WWE's way of saying, hey, we can do whatever the hell we want to do and get away with it. The Intercontinental title ladder match, in my opinion, was a pretty good match. There were a lot of great names in this match. Dolph Ziggler, Wade Barrett, Stardust, Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, a lot of great names that could have easily walked out of this match as Intercontinental Champion. Daniel Bryan was the one who walked out of this match as Intercontinental Champion. This is one of the few matches at WrestleMania that I don't actually have an issue with, and the reason why I don't have an issue with it was because it was a phenomenally competitive match where anyone could have easily walked out of this match as champion. Even R-Truth, who was in the match, could have easily walked out of this match as champion, but he didn't. It was Daniel Bryan, and my reasoning behind Daniel Bryan walking out of this match as Intercontinental Champion, originally I had predicted Dean Ambrose was going to win the match because Dean Ambrose wanted to get his name on the wall at WWE headquarters. One day he probably will. Maybe we'll do something with John Cena and Dean Ambrose in the fallout of WrestleMania. Maybe Dean Ambrose will plead a case as to why he's number one contender for the U.S. title if Sheamus doesn't, with Sheamus returning as a heel, which I expected him to do at WrestleMania 31, which he did, and I was really expecting him to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I'll get into that in a minute. But it was a great match. Daniel Bryan won the Intercontinental title because Daniel Bryan had to have some sort of momentum in his comeback. He just recently came back off surgery. Obviously, the direction for Daniel Bryan's character wasn't to go to the main event against Brock Lesnar and become world champion because he would have just been cashed in by the piece of shit Seth Rollins, and Rollins would have walked out regardless of who he cashed it in on, either Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns as champion. So I'm happy they didn't go the way of Daniel Bryan being fucked over. Daniel Bryan at least got a championship and could get at least a 6 to 8 month reign as Intercontinental Champion. One thing that I'm also happy about with how phenomenal the ladder match was done was that they kept up with the history of the ladder match at WrestleMania. The match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon was the exceptional match. Back in 1994, we saw TLC matches by WrestleMania 15 and 16, and we saw the Money in the Bank ladder match debut at WrestleMania 21 in 2005, with its inaugural recipient being Edge, winning a phenomenal match that included some of the biggest names in WWE, guaranteeing them a future opportunity at the championship of their choosing. It was amazing seeing that match and how it unfolded year after year at WrestleMania, and I'm really happy